Good evening. My name is Jess, and I am responding to Session 4's discussion post. I had originally created a much longer video, and I cannot get it to upload to YouTube, so I'm going to redo this very quickly to make sure that I can get this up and I can get it posted. So in Session 4, there was this entire discussion is based around authenticity and kind of bridging the gap as far as knowledge and identifying that knowledge gap, and how do you correlate your faith with authenticity and online and social media. So the first question is what is your view with regard to integrity and authenticity in online social spaces? What does it look like when you are authentic online? So I think that this is actually something really awesome to kind of talk about and to touch on, because it's something that I was struggling through with my Sphere project, as far as being authentic, truly telling my story, and sharing the details necessary in order to make that happen. So what I mean is in last week's discussion post, I talked about how I had concerns about some things and what could I share and what couldn't I share. And I think it truly came down to several people telling me that it's my story. Everybody has their own side, and just be true to you. And I think that that's really important. In order to be authentic, it needs to be real. It needs to be something with true intent. If you go into something with fake or ill intent, then the authenticity piece is completely lost, at least in my opinion. And so it is important to go into something with true intent. That's why things like fake news, the wider article that we read this week talked about fake news and how it's on the rise. If it's fake, it's absolutely not authentic. If there are pieces that you can go through and you can really start to say, that doesn't sound right, I think 9 times out of 10, your gut is telling you something. It's, do the words on the page match with the actions of the writer? So for example, I have people who I follow who talk about living a Christian lifestyle and being very thankful for their relationship with God and how much He's blessed them with. But then on several other posts, it will talk about explicit interactions and illegal substance use and just all of these very contradictory things to what some of their other posts have talked about. Now, I'm not saying anybody's perfect. Absolutely not. We all have flaws. We all have sins. We all have things that God has forgiven us for. But I think in order for something to feel authentic, the writer or the presenter of the material needs to be believable. And the actions that are taken surrounding, behind the scenes, all of that, in order for it to be authentic, they must be able to back what they're saying with the actions that they're also taking. So I think that that's extremely true in politics, although not as maybe easy to see or easy to read. It's a matter of, okay, they're saying that they want this for the country. They're saying that they're going to make this happen. Can they back that up? Does their platform say the same things? Do their running mates say the same things? Is there information that's being given that maybe contraindicates what they're saying? Now, there's always going to be 10 different sides to a story, but I think it's knowing or trying to weed through what has the most facts behind it in regards to judging its authenticity. One of the additional questions is how does faith impact your perspective and authenticity? And I think I'll go back to the same the same example used earlier, is that I will, being a child of God, and this relationship for me is less than a decade old. It's something that I've been working on the last 7 years or so to truly make happen. And I think I truly stand behind, you make a commitment, you follow through with it, you say something, and making sure that follow through occurs, or backing a belief, or being consistent with your words. And I think that trust and integrity are huge. And so if I come across something that makes me wonder whether you're being true, or there's an instance where I find that things are not realistic, then it will make me question every additional encounter moving forward. And I think that's just kind of human nature, is once something doesn't look right, you may question resources coming, or you may question things coming from that resource for all time. It takes a lot to kind of change that mentality, unfortunately. Another question was, share a time you were challenged to set up in courage and faith, and in challenged to step up in courage and in faith into the gap. Did you experience closing that gap or expanding it? So I'll share just a little bit of a personal piece. When I was 19, I had my daughter. After a few short weeks, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. I even suffered from things like suicidal ideations, and I was truly in a really bad spot. I felt pretty alone at that point. I turned to a family friend who said my only option at that point was to hand it to God, turn to God, and to build that relationship. 7 years later, I am standing here. I'm stronger than ever. I'm building that relationship, and God kept me here for a reason. There were several instances where I didn't know if I was going to make it. And I look back now going, wow, it would have been all too easy for me to have given up, and unfortunately have somebody else raise my daughter, because I didn't believe in myself long enough to remain a part of this world. And so I didn't know a whole lot. I reached out. I challenged myself to apologize to God for having kind of shoved that relationship to the side. And I truly, not only did I close the gap, but I expanded an incredible relationship, and still to this day is one that I'm working on. So I think it all goes back to, what's the true intent behind it? Do the actions match the words coming from it? And is it something that you are, or that's realistic, and that has all of those key pieces? So like I said, I think the biggest piece to that is matching actions to words, and truly being with positive intent. Anything with ill intent cannot have authenticity behind it. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful night. Stay safe and stay healthy.